A 145-pound Cane Corso named Nero refused to leave a baby girl's side. Not for a nap, not for a meal, not even for a heartbeat. When this family first brought their daughter home, everyone said the exact same thing. That dog is dangerous. Get rid of him before the baby gets hurt. A 145-pound guardian breed sharing a house with a newborn. The neighbors called it a tragedy waiting to happen. 45 different people told them to rehome him. 45. And then on an ordinary afternoon in Washington, when a heavy dresser came down toward that crawling little girl, the dog everyone feared did the one thing not a single person in that house was fast enough to do. This is the story of how the most feared dog on the whole street became the only reason a little girl walked away without a scratch. Chloe and Dylan Marsh lived in a 2-story house in Kirkland, Washington, just up the hill from Lake Washington. Dylan worked long shifts as an electrician. Chloe was a graphic designer who worked from home, almost always there and almost always half distracted by a screen. 2 years before their daughter was born, they had brought home a blue Cane Corso puppy with paws too big for his legs and a wrinkled face like a tiny worried old man. They named him Nero, the Italian word for black, even though his brindle coat was really more the color of storm clouds. By the time he turned 2, Nero weighed 145 pounds, a wall of muscle with a head like a cinder block, and he was by every measure the gentlest creature either of them had ever known. Then Chloe got pregnant, and everything changed. Not with Nero, with everyone else. Her mother called first. "You cannot keep a dog that size around a newborn," she said. Her sister mailed articles about dog attacks with the frightening parts highlighted in yellow. A neighbor named Glenn, who had never once spoken to them kindly, suddenly had a great many opinions about that kind of dog around a baby. Even the pediatrician raised an eyebrow. The pressure built for 9 straight months. But Chloe had watched the way Nero had started sleeping outside the empty nursery weeks before there was ever a baby in it, and she made her decision. Nero stays. I see you're still here, but haven't subscribed yet. After what Nero is about to do for this little girl, you'll want to be part of it. Tap subscribe. It means more than you know. They brought Ivy home on a rainy morning in March. Dylan carried the car seat through the front door with his heart pounding. Not because of the baby, but because of the dog. Nero walked over slowly. He did not jump. He did not bark. He lowered his enormous head until his nose was barely an inch from the blanket, breathed in once, and then did something that made Chloe cry on the spot. He lay down on the floor beside that car seat, let out a long, low sigh, and would not move for the rest of the night. From that morning forward, Nero had exactly one purpose, and her name was Ivy. Where the baby went, he went. 145 pounds of Cane Corso flowing behind her like a shadow. He invented rules the whole house had to learn. Rule 1: Ivy did not sleep alone ever. Nero lay across the nursery doorway every night. And if she so much as stirred, he was on his feet before Chloe had opened her eyes. Rule 2: Feeding time was a shared event. Nero sat beside the high chair at every meal, not begging, just supervising, catching whatever fell before it hit the floor. Rule 3, and this one Chloe did not fully understand until much later. Nero could not stand for Ivy to be near the tall furniture, the bookshelf, the television stand, the big dresser in the hallway. Whenever the baby crawled toward any of them, Nero would slide his huge body into the space between a quiet gray wall, and herd her gently back toward the middle of the room. Chloe thought he just liked being in the way. She would understand soon enough. The months passed and Ivy grew from a tiny bundle into a giggling, unsteady little person who had just learned to crawl at full speed and pull herself up on anything she could reach. Her favorite thing in the world was Nero. She would crawl straight across a room to press her whole face into his jowls, and 145 pounds of Cane Corso would simply close his eyes and let her. A boulder being loved by a kitten. He was not a dog who let her out of his sight. If Ivy crawled into the next room, Nero rose and followed within seconds, settling again wherever he could see her. If Chloe carried the baby upstairs, 145 pounds of Cane Corso climbed the stairs one careful step behind, close enough to catch. Dylan used to joke that they did not have a dog. They had a 145B car seat that walked. Chloe laughed. She had no idea how literally true that was about to become. Her first clear word was not mama. It was not data. It was no. Her toddler attempt at Nero shouted with delight every single morning the second she saw him. At night, long after the house went dark, Chloe would sometimes wake to check the monitor and see the same thing on the little screen. Ivy asleep in her crib, and a huge dark shape stretched across the doorway, head up, ears turned toward the smallest sound. She stopped bothering with the baby monitor after a while. She had a better one. But outside that house, the fear never went away. At the park, parents pulled their children back the moment they saw a Cane Corso coming. Glenn still crossed to the other side of the street. A woman once asked Chloe to her face if she was insane for letting that animal near her daughter. Chloe just smiled and kept walking because she knew something all of them did not. She knew that the single safest place in all of Kirkland was the 18 of floor directly beneath that dog's chin. Then came a Tuesday in October. Dylan was at work. Chloe was on a call in the kitchen, laptop open, and Ivy was playing on the rug in the hallway, 15 feet away, with Nero lying a few feet from her, watching the way he always did. For maybe 20 seconds, Chloe turned to her screen. In those 20 seconds, Ivy crawled to the tall dresser, the heavy one they had always meant to bolt to the wall and never had, reached up and pulled the bottom drawers open to climb, and 200 pounds of solid oak began to tip forward, straight down toward a 1-year-old on the floor. Chloe heard the drawers slide. She turned. She was 15 feet and a lifetime away, but Nero was already moving. The dog crossed that hallway in a single heartbeat, hit Ivy with his shoulder, and drove her clear across the floor and out of the shadow of the falling dresser. He did not have time to save himself. He never even tried. The dresser came down on 145 pounds of Cane Corso with a crash that shook the house, and Ivy sat up on the far side of the hall, unharmed, blinking, crying from the noise. The same dog the whole street had feared. The same dog 45 people had begged them to rehome. The same 145 pounds Cane Corso every one of them had called a danger to that baby. Pinned under 200 pounds of oak, having spent his own body to throw a little girl out of the path of it. And even then, even trapped, he was straining his neck toward her, trying to reach her, refusing to leave her side. Chloe screamed, dropped the phone, and heaved that dresser off him with a strength she did not know she had. Nero dragged himself out, limping badly, one back leg not working right, and the first thing he did was stagger across the floor and press his bloodied head against Ivy to make sure she was whole. She was without a single mark on her. The pediatrician saw Ivy that afternoon and found nothing wrong. The fire department told Chloe something she has never forgotten. That a heavy piece of furniture tips onto a child in America about every 30 minutes. One of the fastest and quietest ways a toddler is badly hurt at home. And that in the 6 seconds that dresser took to fall, no adult could have crossed that hallway in time. Something faster had to be standing there. something that never once took its eyes off her. And Chloe knew with a certainty she will carry for the rest of her life, that if she had listened to those 45 people, if she had rehomed the dog everyone feared, that Tuesday would have ended in the worst way a story can end. Nero did not walk away clean. He had a cracked hip, a deep gash over one eye that took 14 stitches, and a limp the vet said would take weeks to heal. The vet, who had seen many dogs in 22 years, said she had rarely watched an animal take a hit like that on purpose. For 11 days, he could barely climb the stairs. And every one of those 11 nights, injured as he was, he still dragged himself to the nursery doorway and lay down across it because there was no version of Nero that slept anywhere else. Word spread through Kirkland the way news like that always does. The woman who had called Chloe insane left a card on the porch. Glenn, the neighbor who had crossed the street for 2 whole years, knocked on the door, looked down at Nero, and said quietly, "I was wrong about him." Then asked if he could help Dylan finally bolt every heavy thing in that house to the wall. Today, Nero is 4 and Ivy is 2. The limp is gone, though he still has a white scar over one eye. He still lies across her doorway every single night. He still supervises every meal. And he still slides his huge body between Ivy and anything tall. Only now, nobody in that house ever tells him to move. And the 45 people who swore they should get rid of him have all gone very quiet. Because here is the simple truth every one of them missed. A dog is not dangerous because of his size or his breed or the heavy square shape of his head. What makes a dog is who he decides to love and exactly what he is willing to do to keep them safe. Nero decided on the very first morning that a tiny girl in a gray blanket was his to protect. And not once, not even pinned under 200 pounds of oak, did he change his mind. If you are thinking about bringing a big powerful dog into a home with a child, please do not listen to the fear. Learn the breed. Train with patience, supervised with love, and understand that the right dog raised the right way is not a danger to your child. Sometimes he is the guardian angel you never knew you needed, wearing a face the whole world taught you to fear. So, let me ask you honestly, would you have trusted a 145-pound Cane Corso alone with your baby? Or would you have listened to those 45 people and let him go? Tell me in the comments.